Hi guys, this is Emnel, and today I'd like to introduce you to Gwent, the Witcher card game. It is, as you might have heard, a collectible card game based on a minigame that was a part of Witcher 3 Wild Hunt by the same developer, the CD Projekt Red. And now, after over a year in development and 7 months in closed beta, it has came out as an open beta at the moment. And, well, you can just go to, I believe, playgwent.com and grab it for free and check it out. And, well, I'd like to create a video in which I will show you basics of it and explain how things work and how, well, gameplay works, as well as, well, the in-game economy, because this is a free-to-play game, so it's important to know if you are about to get shafted. And, well, spoiler alert, not really. So, well, for a card game at least, for a card game it's pretty decent, but, well, we'll get into details. It's not the usual content on this channel, as you might have noticed. It's, well, I really like Gwent for being a very strategic game. Unlike other more flashy card games, it's more measured and more based on, outsmarting your opponent. It is, of course, a player versus player experience, in which you play enemies in casual and then ranked matches, climb ladder boards and things like that. But it also has a little bit of a single player experience, but that is mostly for the tutorial purposes. As of yet, there will be a cinematic campaign, created by, as they say in the trailer, people who played, were working on Witcher 3. I have actually spent a few hundred hours playing this game in the last few months in closed beta. I've reached pretty high ranks, like I've been in top 500 and above, things like that, played well over 1,000 matches and so on and so forth, but I will start from the beginning. In this video we will focus on two things, as I mentioned. We are going to go through basic tutorials, in which I will elaborate on things that are a little bit glossed over, and those will be gameplay tutorials. Then we will do tutorials regarding the economy, and I will expand on that from my own experience. And then we'll do a quick overview of what you get for free for starters, because you get 5 pretty powerful starter decks with an assortment of epic and legendary cards and so on and so forth. And in next several videos we'll expand on that and focus on a single faction in each. Right, without further ado, let's get basic game mechanics. It is voiced to some extent, so I'm hopefully not going to speak over things, but, well, we'll discuss a bit. Oh, one disclaimer though, cards used in the tutorial are very simplified, so yeah, don't expect to see such basic cards later on as you play, but, well. Hey, welcome to Gwent. Keep in mind that some of those cards are different from their multiplayer version. Okay, so they just say that. If you want to return to this tutorial once you are done, you can launch it from the challenges menu at any time. They say that because this is what you are going to find the moment you enter the game. I've done those earlier. Well, once I loaded the open beta version to see if they are good enough as a basis of, video tutorial, and, well, since they are, we're going to go through them together once again.
Before you start making any reckless wagers, perhaps I should refresh you on the rules? We've had a few changes lately.
Yeah, heard something to that effect. Fine, spit it out.
Alright, so hopefully it isn't too low, but yeah. The goal of the game is to gather more total strength than your opponent. Yeah.
Losing already?
As you can.
Don't get excited. I've some powerful surprises for later. Saving them.
Alright, so this is the most important number during your game that you have to keep in mind. This is the sum of all the things. You can see the total strength of your units at the bottom of the screen. Your opponent's total strength is on top and yours on bottom.
Laid out several cards.
Yes, easier to explain this way.
Right, placing units on the battlefield increases your total strength. That's...
Right, I shall go first.
Each unit can only be played on a certain row or rows. For example, you can only play the Fiend, which is this guy, on the middle row, which is, well, this row. Ancient Foglet can only appear on range row, which is not exactly the case, but we'll get to that later. But definitely this guy can only be placed on range row. And you have to place the Griffin on the siege row. The icon on the left side of each card shows where they can be played. So as you can see here, those cavalry guys can only be placed on a melee row.
Now you. Play a card. Any card.
Yes, we can just drag them, you can click and then hover over. As you can see, they can be placed on either side. It doesn't matter in the tutorial, but it will matter in the real game. So let's start by playing them.
Yeah, feels familiar. I'm winning.
So you have played the unit card and its strength has been added to your total. As you can see here, well, they added pluses and equal sign to make it obvious. Okay, so play the remaining cards in any order. So that's the basic thing about the game, is that there's no mana, there is no lands to tap, anything like that. And you and your opponent play one card at the time. So I play one, she plays one, I play one, and so on. So the number of cards you have in your hand, which is displayed here, is basically the number of turns left. It may seem simple, but well, it will get more complicated later. Now let's, because once again, this is very simplified. Let's just place it here. Opponent has no cards, so she's passed. I have no cards, so I pass automatically.
Not bad to start. Now on to more advanced concepts.
Right, so that was a very basic thing. Let's get to the more of a real stuff, not quite yet, and which is advanced mechanics. You will just get, you know, taken from one to another.
If you don't like some of your cards, you can swap them out.
So yes, we have a mulligan option, as it is called. We can swap 3 cards from our initial hand. We start with 10 cards, so 3 out of those 10 can be swapped.
Know what? This time, swap out your special cards. I shall tell you about them later.
Alright, so we've seen units earlier, and those are special cards that do not have a number here. So important to know that isn't said yet. Some of the cards, those bronze ones, as you can see, this is silver, this is bronze. You can have up to 3 of those in your deck, but if you mulligan one of them, okay, well, they make me do it this way, but if I were to mulligan this card, and I wouldn't be able to get another copy of it, nor I would be able to get another copy of it for my 2 other mulligans. Well, I hope I explained it properly, but we'll see that later.
Perhaps. Oh, this one?
Yeah, alright.
Gotta admit, they made
So-
me look pretty good.
So that's one of the cards you start with, and we are going to play it. It's a...
Any last words?
Now watch this.
Many cards have special abilities. For example, a card Ciri is about to play, well, to lay out, will play another instance of itself from her deck.
Hey, why didn't my card have an ability?
Smarting, are we? Then play this and see what happens.
Alright, so let's just... so as you can see keywords that are in bold text. Deploy means that the thing after it is going to happen the moment you play this card on your deck. in any way. You can play it from your hand, and there are other ways of playing it, like resurrecting it and so on and so forth. But when the card is deployed, it will, well, as you can see that the text box is above that explained us, and summon is played it from your deck. And this means deploy, summon all copies of this unit, which is what just happened. Here we have another case of deploy. In this case, damage an enemy by 5, which is, well, self-explanatory. So I'm going to play Vernal Roach here and shot this thing. If you reduce a unit's strength to 0, it is destroyed and sent to graveyard. Okay, play the remaining cards. As you can see, look at those numbers. So here we have, she has 9 cards in hand, we have 8, which means that we have 8 turns left. She has 9, which is a card advantage, a concept we'll talk about later. This is the number of cards she has in her deck, which is weird, because that's way too many to have. And this is the number of cards we have, which is actually less than you can, well, minimum is, and something you need to strive for is 25, but we'll get to that later. And yeah, the number of cards in your graveyard, you normally can look at them, but, well, it's a tutorial. Alright, so we are going to play this guy now.
Brace yourself. I dare say this'll be painful.
Alright, so it's about to play Scotch. It is a card you will be all too well familiar at the start of the game, because it is included in every starter deck, so every player has an access to it, and it is a very powerful card that will very often win or lose you the game. It, as you can see, destroys the strongest unit on the battlefield. And this guy's gone.
Guessing the cards with the gold frames are the best.
Perceptive as ever.
Yes, so as you can see, gold cards are immune to most card effect abilities. And what that means is, unless the card specifies that its effect will affect gold units, it will not. So in that case, only our non-gold unit, which we had one of, is affected by it.
I'd pass if I were you. You've a solid lead. I'll need to play quite a few cards to catch up.
So having more cards than your opponent is crucial to winning. Never play more than you need. They must last you for the rest of the match.
Remember what Uncle Vesemir used to say? About losing a battle to win the war?
Not really.
You only need to win 2 out of the 3 rounds. So in the previous very basic tutorial, you've seen that we already had half of the crown here and half of the crown here. At the moment we do, neither of us has any, which means that it is the first round, since no one has won any quite yet. And to win, you need to win 2 rounds in a row. So once you pass, you cannot play any more cards that round, while your opponent can continue to play as many cards as they want. To pass, okay, and she wants us to pass. As you can see here, it's blacked out, but we are at 17 and she's in at 11. We have 7 cards, I believe. Yes, that's 7, and she has 8. The reason why we are passing is that to win this turn, she will need to play several more cards that will, well, let's see what happens. Still not winning. Alright, and she will pass now.
I won the previous round, so I go first in this one.
Okay, at the start of the second round, both players draw 2 cards from their decks, and in the next round we draw 1. And that's it. You, unless you have cards that let you draw more, you are only going to access 13 of your cards, 10 in your starter, and, well, save the mulligans, but yeah, that's it.
How about that? Seems I've gained the upper hand.
You've more cards than I, true. But you know me. I'll not go down without a fight.
Alright, so this is the having more cards in your hand than your opponent gives you a significant advantage. It puts you in control of the flow of the battle. Yes, we are drawing those 2 cards mentioned earlier. And at the start of each round you can redraw one card. So Ballistas, it's effect we've seen earlier, although the other one was more powerful, but the same gist. This card, as you can see, is worth 3+3, which is 9. This one is worth 9, and for that reason we are going to switch Dune Banner Light Cavalry, which is worth 8. Alright, so as you can see, because we passed in the previous round while being ahead, and Ciri had to play 2 cards, she's now at 7 cards, we are at 9. And remember how it was, so each card is basically your turn, so which means that we will have a freedom to play last 2 cards in our turn, which, well, is beneficial. Not so much here, because, well, those are very basic things that, but in a real game it is a very important thing to have that we'll discuss later in real games. So, okay, let's, without further ado, let's play that. Alright, so she hits us for 2.
Aye, aye, sir.
Okay, we are going to play our silver card, which are... so, in your deck you can only have 4 golds and 6 silvers. And silver cards, and you cannot have any duplicates of those. And, well, so this is... Sheila de Tansonville is one of our 6 gold, silver cards. And it is not... we don't have another instance of her. And, well, as you can see, those are... changed to very basic effects. Like, none of those cards, like, not a single one of them work the same way as they do here, so keep that in mind.
My studies are more important than this.
Okay, and we'll kill the behemoth. Right, she passed.
You should pass now. You'll win no matter what.
So you now have more total strength than your opponent, who has just passed. There's no point in playing any more cards. Pass now to win the round, highlight the coin, and click and hold left mouse button, or press and hold space, as we will. There's never, well, okay, there are some options.
Ready? We've each won once, so whoever wins this round wins the game, the battle, the day.
Alright, so that's what I was talking about, those half crowns. What do I want to redraw? Once again, I'm going to redraw this one. So this seems very weak. As you can see, this is 5, but it has bond ability we'll talk about in a second. I want to have... Alright, so we got another of those guys. I won the... no, she won the round, so... No, okay, I won the round, so I'm going to have to start this round. I'm going to start playing this. Right, so this is a card that is almost looks the same as in the real game, but let's ignore it for now because it's not going to have any real effect. Alright, now the bond ability. So trigger this ability when this unit is placed on the board, and each time another copy of this unit is placed on the same side. So as you can see, it says bond, which is in this case is going to work as deploy. Boost the unit on the left by 2. We're going to place it here, and this unit on our left is going to be boosted by 2 to 11.
Fine, you win. Congrats.
Okay, you now have more total strength than your opponent. You can play your remaining cards or pass. Either way, you win the round because your opponent has passed and cannot increase their strength. So this seems a bit weird because there is almost never, unless you are 100% sure that you're not going to win, which is sometimes the case. There is no reason to pass as long as you have cards in your hand, so that is pointless, but it will, as you can see in a second, it is made to teach you a savoir-vivre lesson. But let's start with playing another of those bond units and see what happens.
Death to the enemy!
So So playing this bond activated bond on this guy that we played, so it was similar to the previous one, and boosted this guy, but it also activated bond on him, and boosted this from 11 to 13, and well.
Seriously? You are aware you can stop now, aren't you? Truly classy.
Yeah, so as she kinda hints, it's considered a bad taste to keep playing cards when you won. You can play one, but it's pushing it. But if you keep playing anyway, it's considered an asshole move. So don't do that in online playing. That is.
Gerald, you needn't rub it in.
All right. Okay, so that was a bit perhaps over-explanation in some of the parts, but I think, well, we'll get in both more details a bit later, and, well, I kind of wanted to make sure that the very basics are hammered in. So the last one of those, let's get through it fairly quick, because we have one more to go through in this video.
You want peace? Fight for it.
You do best to swap.
Hey, not allowed to peek at my cards.
Okay, so now we actually play with our leaders, which we'll get into a bit later. So we're going to swap all of those guys. They're bad, and we are going to get more of those bond guys.
We're almost done. I've one last thing to show you. Play this card and you shall see.
Okay, so we're going to play Redanian Knight.
See that? That, dear Geralt, was a leader card in action.
You can only use your leader once per game. Playing your leader card ends your turn, just like setting out any other card. So this is basically the card you always have in hand and can play once. And it puts that leader on board with his inherent strength and activates his ability. And the leader is considered a gold card when on your board.
Go on, your turn. Let your leader lead.
Okay, so spawn a bronze wildhand unit. That was his ability, and that's what he just did. And our ability in this case, which is not the same as the ability in the real game, for whatever reason, means deploy spawn a base copy of a bronze ally on its row. So this is a bronze ally and enemy. Ally is the unit on your side, enemy is the unit on the other. And spawn means it's created from a thin air. In this case, as you can see, we have one Redanian Knight here and two Redanian Knights here, which means that if this red summon a base copy of a bronze ally, well, in that case it would mean summon a bronze ally or a copy, it would not work, because you cannot have more than 3 cards in your deck of the same type. Same cards, more than 3 copies, yeah, you know what I mean. Alright.
Men of Kedwen, attack!
Now watch this. Oh, button up. Weather's about to turn. This weather card will...
Weaken units on one row. That I remember.
Alright, so we copied this guy. Okay, usually you won't use weather cards when your opponent has significantly more strength than you on a specific row. Some cards, like Eridin, are immune to the effects of weather cards. Okay, so this is awkward because, well, this is technically true that right now it was cruelly designed in closed beta, because weather was completely redesigned and it doesn't work the way it used to. So, but it's technically true.
Yet the weather can be fickle. Catch. Play this. See what happens.
Okay,
Just
we
don't
got...
expect me to give you one every time.
We got... can we... we still cannot look at the graveyard, so... that was Frost. There are several weather effects, and you can play play Frost on any enemy rows. And in this case, it was played on our melee roll, and at the start of every turn, all of our units will receive 1 damage. We are going to clear that. We're playing Clear Skies, so that's another issue. So Clear Skies have 2 options. They basically split into 2. You can, if you, for example, if there is no weather, you can choose to play it as a rally, which just plays a random bronze unit from your deck, summons a bronze unit basically. And this is wrong, because it says this is something they changed 2 days ago in closed beta or in testing, and then changed back, but I forgot to change the text apparently, because it says trigger all weather on your side, then clear all weather from your side. And that first part, trigger all weather, which means in case of our frost deal 1 damage, that's not true anymore. So it will just clear all weather, as you will see when I play it. That being said, there's no way of knowing how it will work the moment, well, for example, in a month or so, when you are playing this game. So, well, treat the tutorial with, well, a barrel of salt, in that case. As you can see, it hasn't triggered it, it just cleared it. And that was our use of card, as you can see.
Play this too.
Okay, so whether we play a special card or a unit, that's our turn. And now we have Commander's Horn, boost 5 adjacent units by 4, which is silly because we have a lot of units we could boost. But, well, we'll just play along. As you can see, it doesn't affect gold units, including our own gold units, because, well, it doesn't say so. Yeah, so. Boosted those by 4.
Right. Think I got the hang of this.
Is that so? Then prove it. Pass and we can begin.
Alright, and already in past we are 27 to 16, so obviously a huge advantage, and well, there's of course no need to keep playing. We have won the round. Okay,
Alright, let's play a real match. No hints, no handicaps.
Alright, you know the basics, good luck and have fun. Alright, in this case, well, we're actually going to redraw a Redanian Knight. And, well, we got our Shielded Anselville and Vernon Roach. We are going to start by getting Redanian Knight. Okay, so Chort is interesting in this case because his base strength is 8, and as you can see, deploy, brave, strengthen. Strengthen, rather than boost, means that it increases his basic strength. And in this case means, if you read it from left to right, it's deploy, and then it affects brave. If he's brave, brave means trigger it if you are losing. We had 9, he had 8, so the brave was in effect. It triggered and strengthened him by 3 from 8 to 11, which, well, in this case allowed him to get an advantage over us, but if he was ahead, that card would be less worthy than Redanian Knight. Alright, so now we are going to, let's see. Okay, let's actually play this again. This is just a basic card. Once again, none of those cards work this way in a real game. And same trick as in the previous game. Now, however, we have a decoy. Return. So this is a card you are going to get in your starter decks, a very powerful one, and staple in many decks, which means return an ally to your hand, strengthen it by 3, and then play it again. Which means that this guy will go from 5 to 8, and all the effects that were triggering when he was played will be played again. Let's see. And let him here. And all of that got boosted again. Ouch. Alright, so this is a fog that will hit our... well, hit the card that we are... English. It will damage the card with the highest strength by 2 every turn. So, well, this is what it is. We are a little bit ahead, but I think we can basically win it. So let's just keep at it.
My studies are more important than this.
We know all those cards, so now it's getting a bit. So now, as you can see, both of those cards are with the same strength, which means that the fog will hit them both next turn. As you can see, they are both at 7, but now, since we have them staggered, means that this guy is going to be hit next. At the start of our next turn. We already won. We could have passed now, but let's see how that works. He has no cards, so he is forced to pass. As you can see, this guy got hit. We are going to pass now because, well, that will just hit us. Well, let's just show it. And you'll see, once again, this guy is not going to get hit. Well, right there. We have no cards, we passed. Alright. We won 2-0 rather than 2-1 as it usually happens. Alright, so we played all of those. As I said, I already played them, so I got 175 aura for it. If I were to go to shop, I would be able to get here and buy a keg for 400 of that. Once I get another 25, I'll get another keg, and so on and so forth. Basically, you are able to get 3 and a bit every day. We'll get to that later. And buying 60 is around 60 bucks, I believe. We'll get to the details once I get to opening kegs. I've bought quite a lot. I got some 60 from CD Projekt Red as a when I contracted them for an access as a streamer and YouTuber, which I never actually did till now, which is a bit of a shame by me, but well, here we are. And I got quite a lot from playing in closed beta, but I also bought 180, which is quite a lot of money, but well, there we are. Now, we are going... So, what I wanted to point out, we got you get 174.5, and once we continue with the challenges, you are going to get even more. 25 here, and this is going to be probably 25, 50 or something, and more there. But we'll get to that a bit later. Let's start here. Okay, welcome to the deck builder tutorial. Here you can put together new decks or modify existing ones by adding or removing cards. Let's start by creating a new deck. Click New Deck to continue. Well, okay, this is awkward. Well, as you can see, we have 5 starter decks, which it isn't allowing me to... Oh, well, it bugged out. Damn it. Command game. Don't be like that. It's, well, the game is, well, this build is what, 3 hours old, so that's expected. There should be, well, if I were able to scroll, I could... Oh, come on, game. Okay, we're going to kill the process, which is problematic because I have nothing in the background. So, stay with me. And we're back. Okay, so I tried reinstalling the game, restarted it a few times, but it still isn't working. It seems to be rare occurrence because no one reported that bug before, but well, deck creation tutorial isn't working for me at the moment, so we're going to do it, well, without the actual tutorial. I'll do that later. Now, let's get to cards and, well, start with deck builder. We're going to get into details of those details a bit later, but let's just get, for example, Northern Realms starter deck and see how it looks. Right, so as you can see, it has 25 total cards. Minimum is 25, which is something you want to aim for, well, 98% of the time, I guess, 99, 100, something like that, maximum 40, which is a very rare occurrence. Basically, you want your decks to be very reliable, to be able to draw all the things you need very consistently, and to do that, you need the smallest deck possible. You are limited to 4 golds. As you can see, max copies of those is 1, which means that you can only have 1 gold card of each type. If I remove Geralt here, I am 3 out of 4, and I can then put 1. I'm going to put a premium Geralt. As you can see, there are premium and non-premium versions. The premium ones are animated. I got premium Geralt as a reward for closed beta basically. And now they are all grayed out. Same goes for silver cards. The main difference that we discussed earlier between gold and silver cards is that golden cards are very rarely affected by other cards. There are some exceptions, but they are very far and very few between. So basically, if we play Geralt, he will stay on board 90% of the time, and 95, let's say 99% of the time, and nothing will affect him. While if we were to play something different, like a trebuchet, it may get destroyed. But the backbone of your deck are 2 other things, which is leaders. In this case, we only have access to Fall Test, but there are 2 more that you can access through challenges. We'll get to that later. And bronze cards, which, as you can see, can be added to the deck in 3 copies. Starter decks have 2 copies of each. Some of them are common, some of them are rares, but well, basically you can have between 1 and 3 copies of each. Each starter deck has 1. As far as gold and silver cards go, you have 1 faction-specific gold. In this case, it's Philippa Eilhart. And 3 same neutral golds. In this case, it's Triss Merigold, Geralt, and Royal Decree. So all the starter decks will have those 3 and a different legendary gold card, which is Philippa Eilhart. Those decks are pretty decent, and they can be, very quickly improved by getting a bunch of commons or a few rares here and there from kegs. So it's a pretty good experience playing with those starter decks from what I've seen. And as far as Northern Realms go, Sheila de Tancelville is our standard, silver card that is unique to this faction, and as you can see here, it is very different from what her version was in the tutorial. We'll get into what all those cards do in the next in the episodes that will be dedicated to them. So we're going to save and exit for now. Just going to show you one more to show you the difference. As you can see here, Geralt, Triss, and Royal Decree are here, and there is Hermione, and there is also Dudu, Cleaver, Decoy, Commandant Horn, Scorch, and special Skellige card that you see here is Holger Blackhead. So, as you can see, only 1 differs from those, but they are good enough cards to all those neutral cards that you see here. Right, let's get to our collection. I mentioned rarity, and we are going to filter cards. As you can see here, there are four rarities. There's common, rare, epic, and legendary. If you click at legendary cards, you'll see that all of them are gold, and that works both ways. All the gold cards are legendaries now. It used to not be the case in the previous version, but they just streamlined it. So all the golds are legendaries, and all legendaries are golds. Or epics are silvers, and all silvers are epics. And bronze cards are split between rares, which you can see you already got quite a few, and commons, which you also have quite a few. And so yeah, if we pull those filters, you see we start with like quite a few different cards, and significant amount of them is in 2 copies. You don't need more than 3 copies of bronze cards and 1 copy of silvers, which will allow you to for them to be milled, so turned into scraps that you can see here. Those colorful things up there, and those scraps can be later used to craft cards. I have 700 scraps from the previous season, so I could now craft Stammelford Tremors, which well, actually it's very expensive because that's a premium card. That's another thing. All the cards have 2 versions: premium, which are animated, and well, non-premiums, which are not. And we mostly start with the latter. So if I wanted to get more Stammelford Tremors, you see that those are much less expensive. But as you can see, they are. There is no way of using this little thing here, which is Meteorite Dust. Meteorite Dust has one purpose only, which is to change your standard cards into animated cards, and that's a cosmetic element of it. It cannot be used to create new cards, just changing ones you have into an animated version. So you can have ones that you really like that, and of course animated cards also drop with varied. They sometimes drop from kegs, which we'll see in a sec. So of course, if you have too many cards or you don't want them, you can, as I mentioned, mill them, which will turn them into scraps. Which I believe milling a common would yield us 5 scraps, so it's not worth to of course mill them back and forth. So there's that. As you can see, we have neutral cards, which can be applied to all the decks. Let's just limit it to standard only, so they aren't doubling. So we have a assortment of neutral cards that can be played in all the decks. And then there are cards specific to different factions: monsters, Nilfgaard, Northern Realms, Scoia'tael, and Skellige. Each of those factions starts, well, now in open beta, with 3 different leaders. For example, monsters start with Eredin, and there are 2 additional leaders that are available at the moment. There will be more: are Unseen Elder and Dagon. As you can see here, because this is the indicator of rarity, the gold one here, this is white thing means it's a common, and blue thing means it's a rare, and of course the silver ones we discussed. So those are golden cards per se, so they are legendaries, but you do not want to craft them here because, as we mentioned earlier, you can close filters and get them through all those nice challenges. Single player challenges. So if I want to get, let's get the monsters. If I want to get Untitled Elder, I will need to well, finish those challenges, and then to get Dagon, I finish those. We'll get to specifics once we in the episodes dedicated to all the starter decks, which should come tomorrow, I believe. Now, as I mentioned earlier, we can use so Meteorite powder can be bought for real money to make your cards move. Which, well, if someone wants to drop money on it, there it is. But it's fairly easily accessible from the game. Now, how do you earn things to buy your cards with? Cards are well, in kegs. You can buy, as you can see, one keg for 100 ore, that is. I actually forgot. And then for real money. So that would be, I believe, 60 or 70 bucks. Something like that. 60 bucks? Yeah, that was about 60. No, that's pretty sure 60 bucks. And we are going to open one to show you. I will do the keg opening later. Oh, come on. Is it still bugged? This is not going... Well, this is like... Oh, okay. It's working. Okay, so we got one Nilfgaard card. This is like 3 hours after the beta dropped, so it's a bit of a strain on servers, I believe. We were a bit unlucky because we only got common cards, but you can with quite rarely get, well, quite commonly get rares, and rarely and very rarely get epics and legendaries. And right here, we in first of our kegs, we got epic right from the bat. So this is very different from many other card games you've seen, because as your fifth card, which is of the highest rarity, in this case this is epic. Usually it's rare, and rarely it is legendary. You know the gist. You can choose between 3 of them. In this case, I don't think Ves is very good at the moment. Well, we'll discuss that later, but what I want from this one is to get Whispers, which is one of the 3 crones for monsters, which I enjoy playing more than Northern Realms, so I'll pick that one. And that's it. And we're going to go back to the shop. You will end up having, once you get more kegs, open more of them, you will end up getting more and more common cards. And those that will be above 3, you will mill into those scraps that you will then turn into... shut up, Shoop. That will turn into... that you will use to craft cards. Now, how do you earn all those currencies? This is a bit weirdly placed because it's in options, but there is a rewards menu. It's a new thing, so I guess they just put it here for the time being. So there are several ways. So you get, as you can see, timed dailies. For 24 hours, you have an option to, well, every time you win 2 rounds, you get this kind of random thing. So 15 of those, 15 of those, 15 of those, or 1 random card. And once you win 6 rounds, which is, well, 3 won games, because you need 2 rounds to win a game, or, well, 6 lost games, because 9 out of 10 times if you lose a game, you lose it 2-1. So, well, eventually you get 100 ore, which is enough to buy 1 keg. Then, once you win another 6, or equivalent of it in losses, you get another 75 ore, which along with all those randoms will, well, as you can see, most likely allow you to get a second keg. And then it gets a bit steeper, but well, still. So here, as you can see, it's every 2 rounds, but once you get to this tier, it's going every 4 rounds. But the last reward that you see is for well, what basically amounts to 21 wins in a day. You get another 50 ore, which, along with all those rewards, usually means that you get free kegs and well, probably under 100 of this and that, and perhaps a card here or there. So I would say it's fairly generous in itself. And well, you can if you don't have enough time, you can simply just play one, and you will have play 3 games, and well, there you are with 100 something ore and a little bit of something, and you have a free keg every day. And but if you end up playing like 21 games, or well, 30 if you are not winning a lot of them, then you can easily have 3 kegs a day. Then there are level rewards. There are 100 levels. You will, well, slowly but surely get them all. I was, I think, level 40 something. I don't know. Well, you will eventually you will keep getting them, and that's what I mean. Level 3 gets you milling, which allow you to turn unusable cards into scraps. I'm sorry, and unusable. Oh, and the premiums you get from random kegs can be turned into meteorite powder. So there's that, and scraps, that is. So you get both of those. At level 10, it unlocks. Where is it? You unlock ranked play, and that's about it. And ranked play. So every time you get a new rank, you get some rewards. So for rank 2, it's 1k. Then, well, you see how it is. And then you unlock new borders to show around your avatar and things like that. Well, as you can see, those things add up. In closed beta, level 15 was the top one, and well, with a started deck with 10 or 20 open kegs that you got from your first week of more or less playing, you could easily get to level 10 or 11. So without spending as much as a dime. So well, assuming that you learn the game and so on and so forth, but that's fully within your grasp with a starter deck within a week. And within 2-3 weeks, you can easily, even without milling your cards, get a very competitive deck that, if you are good enough, will drive you all the way to the top, I would say. So it's a pretty decent that way. And lastly, there are seasons. So depending on what rank you will end your season on, you will end up getting additional rewards. They have not confirmed how long seasons will last, but I believe first one will in open beta will last 2 months. So you have quite a lot of time to get some additional kegs here and there. Between all those ways of getting rewards, it's actually pretty easy to get a decent footing with your cards. I've spent, as you can see, quite a lot of money. I bought 3 packs of 60 kegs and then earned and got quite a few more on top of that. But well, I've played my first month of free to play just to check how it is, and it was actually pretty decent. I was able to get to rank 13, I believe, and I would be able to get easily to rank 15, because I haven't really changed my main deck after buying more kegs anyway. So it was fully, or I would well, worst case scenario would need to wait a little bit more to get the cards I was missing, but it's actually pretty decent. All right. So, as I mentioned, next videos that come out we will discuss all those starter decks, play with them, and explain how to do it well, and perhaps how to improve them a little bit with few rares and commons. Another video is going to be, well, set of videos will be keg openings. We are going to open 60 kegs at the time and see what it gives us, and to give you some example of how much value you get for spending that amount of money. On top of that, we will of course discuss why this card, why that card, and so on and so forth. And then there will be instructional videos. For example, we will discuss all the keywords and things like that, as well as perhaps some tier list for cards of different factions and in the factions, as well as the more complex topics of ideas in the game, such as tempo, card advantage, and when to pass, and so on and so forth. The overall guidelines of how you perhaps should play, and based on what I and other have figured out throughout the closed beta. Alright, so, and then of course I will feature some decks I end up having, I craft and end up having a lot of success in ranked, so you can perhaps net deck them and have some good time. Right, thanks for watching guys. This ended up, I think, 50 minutes when I merged those two parts with the between and from before and after the tutorial broke. So yeah, see you next time.